and welcome back to the Community HOPEcast. I'm your host today, Jane. We're back with another episode of Spill the Tea. It has been a while since I said that. It's been a few weeks since we recorded anything, to be honest. But we are back with more Spill the Tea. And here we are in the presence of...
Hey.
Hi, I'm Vicky. I like to call myself a recurring guest at Hope. I'm currently a teacher right now at the Hope Summer School.
Welcome back, Vicky. I'm one of our summer school teachers. And...
Hi, I'm Tree. I'm the program assistant here at Hope Community Service.
Nice.
Good to see you guys again.
And you also, do a little side of summer school as well.
Yes.
Whatever we want to make you do, I suppose.
I wear many hats here at the Hope Summer School program, which I love because I get to associate with children, right? And because I'm a father myself, so thank you for that opportunity.
Yeah, many hats. You and
Many
everyone
hats.
else around here, I
Yep,
suppose.
yep.
But on the topic of parents, guardians, teachers, topic for today for Spill the Tea, we are going to talk a little bit about, put simply, teaching philosophy.
Okay.
Because, in our everyday life, we can fall into the role of being a teacher to people, whether it be professionally, right, as an actual teacher, or maybe a little bit more informally, in everyday kind of like mentoring situations, or by default with parents,
Parenting,
right?
yep.
Parents having children, parenting. So, when you are interacting in the role of a teacher, what is it, right? How do you go about it? You have a certain foundation, or maybe you don't. Maybe a lot of people don't think about it often too, especially when they're in those informal roles. But yeah, we want to kind of dig into our little teaching philosophies and how we interact as like a teacher to a quote unquote like student, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
So just to break it down first, where do you yourselves find yourself falling into a teaching role?
For me, I'm a father, so by default, I fall into the teaching role with my kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm a teacher. And so right now I'm teaching 7th, 8th. And I've worked with kids all across from kinder to high school. So I have experience in that. But this fall I'm going to be teaching kindergarten. So I find myself as just an elementary teacher.
Okay, yeah. But do you also kind of have informal roles? I mean, Tree, you said something along the lines of, I don't even know, like by default, but I mean, you are also kind of a teacher here at the summer school. And
That's
like, Vicky,
true.
do you also find yourself in more informal teaching roles as well?
Yeah, I see myself mentoring a little bit, like with our volunteers.
Volunteers.
Too.
Oh, yeah.
we're
Yeah,
mentors.
Yeah, true. Yeah, we have a lot of high school age volunteers here. Yeah.
I forgot to mention, I also coach my daughter and some of the kids, just an assistant coach in jiu-jitsu. So I guess that's also a mentoring
Yeah,
or
coaching
coaching
counts as
also
well.
works. Okay, cool. Then
Yeah,
I
there's
can
a lot
add
of
that.
different ways once you kind of think about it. And even little things, right? Like if you are more experienced or skilled at certain subjects and, someone like a friend, family, acquaintance like comes and asks you about it, that's also kind of a more informal little teaching role that you
Sure,
might have in that respect too.
So
But I guess there are a few main ones that stick out to us, right? So how do you view the people that you teach, whether it be like students, children? I guess we can start off with our primary teaching role, you being a teacher and like you being a parent, right? How do you view your quote unquote students?
I view the quote unquote students or
In your case, your
children,
children.
right, as someone who comes after me. So there are things that I can pass down as far as information, but most importantly, the mistakes that I learned throughout, right? So you don't want them to make, whether it's your children or the kids that you coach or you teach, you kind of want them to have a successful roadmap in life, preferably better than yours, right? Because we always want to improve our next generation. So for me, the teaching role will be, when I view them, it's someone that I can share the information to so that they can improve their path.
Okay.
Yep.
So do you view them as any less capable than you, or, like in what kind of capacity in that respect?
Not necessarily. Just like someone who let's use jiu-jitsu, for example, right? I was a brand new white belt 3 years ago. So when I see another person who's a white belt or a kid and they gets frustrated with whatever skill that they're learning, there's a sense of empathy there, of understanding, hey, I was there before. So how can I teach that person or share with that person to improve and hopefully return to class? Because frustration leads to quitting, leads to not coming back to class because you don't. So for me, it's that mentorship, that coaching, just allow them to become more involved in sport. I'm using jiu-jitsu example. So, and as far as your class, right?
Yeah.
You say you teach all the way from kindergarten to
High school.
high school,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Are they? Is the foundation the same across the board? Do you treat like a kindergartner different than when you teach a brand new ninth grader?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So yes, no, because I make sure to always have no matter if they're in kindergarten or senior, that they have a relationship with me and they know that I know them. Because growing up, there were a lot of teachers that was like, man, does this teacher know my name? Or like, are they interested in my interests, or are they just here for a job? So they make sure that I'm there for them. That's my main role to myself when I go into teaching. But I'm not going to treat a kindergartner the same way as a 7th, 8th grader just because they're not developmentally there yet. For example, during competitions, right? On a Thursday competitions, my 7th, 8th, we were playing this game called Find It. They had to find items in a box. And then my 7th, 8th graders would obviously they would get the point by like bringing the item to me first, but I would always take the kinders right away. Like take their item, oh, thank you, and then one of my 7th, 8th graders had a problem with it. They're like, why are you getting stuff from like the kinders?
Yeah.
And
But
then
it's not a show of like, oh, they are also getting like points or anything from it. It's
no.
a sort of encouragement
Yeah.
that they were able to complete the task.
Because they're so excited to be giving me this. And therefore, I think a big thing about kids is always, again, like Antri, always encouraging them. And they are children. I believe all children, not necessarily blank slate, but have potential to succeed. But then again, a lot of children, we have to remember that, yeah, they have the potential to succeed, but it doesn't mean they might have things at home or things in themselves where it kind of gives an obstacle for them to succeed. Yeah.
Okay. And I suppose that is a sort of difficulty that people might face, right? Because one person who is a student, right, might have a variety of teachers or people who act as teachers in their life, right? And so you kind of bring up like a good point that there can be like inconsistency
Adversity
or differences
Yeah.
between all those in different environments and different teachers that they might have in their life. Because back when I was still a teaching assistant for the Hope Summer School as well,
Oh my god, I didn't know that. Were you a teacher
yeah.
assistant?
Fun fact.
Yes.
Fun fact.
I was a teaching assistant
What
for the
grade?
first grade.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, how was that?
It was.
It was just first grade, not first, second.
I think it was only first grade, yeah.
Okay.
But there was some challenges and everything. But one of the things that kind of stood out to me was that when I was talking to one of the teachers at the time, she was telling me something along the lines of like, ultimately at the end of the day, we are here to teach them because when they go home, if their parents and guardians aren't doing the same things as us or aren't like doing the role of like parenting, then it kind of makes some things null,
Yeah.
I suppose. What do you guys think of that? Like this inconsistency between like if you are maybe a parent or if you are a teacher to this one person, but you guys don't have certain teaching similarities,
Yeah.
then it might make certain things null for the child.
I think for me, it's really, really important as a teacher. I just learned this over student teaching to build a relationship with the parents and make sure that we're on the same team.
Right.
And also, it's important for me to let parents know that I like their kid. I do like their kid. And I want their kid to be in my class. And therefore, if I will like their kid, not if. When I like their kid, they're going to come. When I like the kid, they are more open to what I have to say to help their kid.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, that's good. To me, as a parent, I think being on the same team is good. So we talked about being a team of a parent and teacher, right? But also, let's say husband and wife or vice versa, we have to be on the same team of teaching.
Yeah.
Because let's say if the dad is the disciplined one and the mom is the one who's just gonna spoil the kids, the kid's gonna gravitate towards the person who's gonna spoil them more, right?
Yeah.
So we have to be on the same team, good cop, bad cop, or whatever, right? But I think as a parent, it's very important now that since I have a little taste of what a teacher goes through, I'm like, oh my gosh, how you guys do this? Because how did you connect to the students, right, with just a short period of time, especially for summer school? And we're almost at the end of summer school, and like I barely connect to some of the students, and they barely like say hi to me. Before I was like, do they hate me? Do they not want to be here? But it's just there's a connection that in the beginning you have to connect with them, and then you can teach them. Same with kids, right? You cannot just you do what I say because I'm your dad or because I'm your teacher. You have to connect and understanding why. And I finally kind of put the pieces together, and that being here also helped me with my kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah.
I mean, like, kids are shy. Most of them come out shy,
Right.
especially culturally.
Right.
Most of them are shy.
Right.
So they're not gonna, it's hard for them to kind of get them out of their shell. The one student that I had, like, I just got her out of her shell.
Yeah.
And it was week 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, also granted that in a summer school, the time is shorter.
Yeah. And they might not even want to be here.
Yeah,
It's the
that is
summer.
tough. It is
Yeah.
tough. It is summer. Yeah.
Like, I think me understanding that it's not their choice to be here,
Yeah.
but it's their choice it's their choice if they're going to enjoy the things that we're going to do. Yeah.
Though sometimes it does feel chaotic and overwhelming being in a crowd of 60, 70 people. And sometimes, especially for maybe younger children, or if your personality or nature is like more introverted or shy, like it can be this feels overstimulating sometimes.
Oh
I
my
don't know.
gosh. Yeah, like I just hosted the competition on Thursday, and it's like I did everything in my power to try to accommodate for what's our youngest kid? Is he 4?
Youngest is
She or he?
TK preschool
So
age.
it's 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4 to I think my oldest is
12.
14.
14.
Oh,
No,
okay.
wait, 13.
13.
13.
Yeah.
So 4 to 13. So that's like almost
Yeah.
a decade, right? I'm like, how am I going to accommodate these competitions for all the kids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The answer is I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm going to try my best, but I'm not. And we're going to win some and lose some.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully, we have way more hands than we see here on the
Yeah.
table,
Yeah.
of course.
That's true.
So even if you're not in the crowd with the students, there will be someone else who can lend them a hand and, help ease them into what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to piggyback on something you said, Kofiki. It's very interesting when you said, there are sometimes you just cannot possibly accommodate everything. So do you ever feel, or in the beginning of your career, do you ever feel like, man, I could have done more for that student, or how could I bring, for example, bring her out her shell
Yeah.
better or faster, before the school year end, right?
Yeah.
How do you cope with that?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So I used to work in special education too.
Sure.
So that's a question I would ask, like, I want to do more for the student. If
Yeah.
I just had more small group time, if I just connected with the student more, if he had more resources.
Yeah.
But I need to remember that I'm only one person.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm only one person. If I'm doing everything, giving 110% of the student, going over his alphabet, making sure he knows his numbers, making sure he knows hygiene. But at home, is he doing the same?
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily having a kid, rearing a child, so taking care of a child is not a one-person thing.
Yeah.
Despite, like, I mean, with single parent, well, no, because they go to school, right? It's not a one-person thing.
Yeah.
So I cope with it by saying it's not my fault.
Sure, that's great. No, that's very helpful for parents and other teachers out there to think about that, because sometimes you put so much weight on yourself and you end up being just really stressed out for no reason, because you said it takes a village to build a child. So
Yeah, like what I was
That's
saying
great.
earlier about like the whole, your teacher might be able to teach you and do their all for the student, but
Right.
what if when they go home, right?
Right.
It's about having this consistency across all the teachers in that person's life,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, and we're talking about these questions and trying to think about specific examples and everything. But once we think about in the grand scheme of things, yeah, like teachers in public schools can have hundreds of students sometimes, and it only continues to grow in scale once you get into older or like higher education.
Yeah.
So it can be kind of
Be a
tough.
lot.
Yeah.
Did I tell you I got my class count of kinders I'm gonna get this fall? Did I tell you yet?
no.
How much?
I'm
What's the
getting-
ratio now?
I'm getting 25-1.
25 to 1.
Yeah.
Do you have like a teacher assistant? Or anything?
No,
Wow.
TK does. Kinder doesn't.
Okay.
Wow.
Fun.
Fun.
You can do it, Kaviki. You can do it.
I
We believe.
Oh my
remember
gosh.
back in
Wow.
the late 2000s, 2010s, when
Okay.
the ratio of students to teacher, like the class size grew bigger. It was a big
It was in its
deal.
30s. It was
like a
in
big
its
deal.
30s.
Yeah,
30s, yeah.
It was
Like
insane.
when we went to school, I believe it was our fourth grade to our sixth grade. There was about 35 to 40 kids.
That's insane.
That's crazy
Yeah.
because it was after the recession, I think, and they didn't want to hire more teachers. So then they were just packing kids in.
And like already, we have TAs and volunteers in the classrooms now for our summer school when the class size is like 10 to
10,
20 maybe,
yeah,
even
yeah.
less than 10 sometimes. But imagining like our teachers back then with a class of like 30 something, but no extra aides, nothing.
Do you think that's why they like, not that they were mean, but they didn't have that much connection with us because there was just so much kids?
Yeah, just
That too.
I don't think they have the luxury to connect with us, right? Because that's a lot of kids to connect with.
Though
And
you do have a longer period of time, like was it 6-ish months?
Oh my gosh, nine months.
Sorry.
9 months.
Sorry,
9 months.
I am on
College.
UC quarter system.
It's 9 to 10 months. I know that because I get paid for I think 10 and 1 month of that is like
Okay,
training and
yeah.
stuff.
Okay, yeah. So, do you have any idea like why you developed the teaching philosophy that you do? Like why you view your students in that way, or like did you learn it from somebody else or from your own experiences?
I think growing up so my teaching philosophy is like every kid has potential, and therefore if you build relationships with them, you could grow them to their potential.
Yeah.
I think I had that because growing up, at home, my parents worked a lot. Therefore they weren't home that often. And I wasn't sure if my parents saw potential in me because they didn't know me that well. Right? And I think it's a cultural thing too, but they didn't know me that well. And not that they didn't have a relationship with me, but they didn't have like a social relationship with me. Or just
like they kind of know you, but there's a lot that they don't know.
Yeah. Like they parented me for sure. They parented
Yeah.
me, but know me as a person,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like we'll see. We'll see next week because I'm not sure if they remember my birthday.
Oh, okay.
So bad.
Oh,
But
okay. It's like
then
that.
I went back to teaching, right? And then my teachers, they would remember stuff about me. They remember things about me, and I felt like I want to be that safe space for kids to grow their potential, and that's how I grew my teaching philosophy.
I guess as us growing up Vietnamese, right?
Yep.
Did you guys feel that, it didn't really occur to me like how, or like I think about it like this, like, you know, in our Vietnamese families, we talk a lot about, you know, family, the significance and importance of family. But then I don't know if anyone really talks about, or the adults really talk about, how much further away children will drift from their families as they spend more and more time outside of the family and in schools. And, you know, they get more influence from their teachers and their peers as well. Have you kind of like thought about that? Or
For myself, it wasn't that case, I guess, because like right after middle school, I started working with my dad already, like 13, 14.
Oh, okay.
So we still have the connection, but you were right about the expression of love, right?
Yeah.
They've never said I love you, or they, like, me and my dad could be in a car for 30-minute car ride from home in Garden Grove all the way to Los Alamitos for high school,
Yeah.
and not saying a word except when I get out of the car and say bye, Dad. Or,
yeah.
but then recognizing his love, absolutely, right?
Yeah.
Because we worked together, he would just put more extra meat in my bowl when we have lunch, or tell me to go take a nap from the boss, you know, just go take a nap, and then who cover for me, just the action, right? But for now, when I do it with my children, I say I love you all the time. It's very comfortable, it's very normal for me to say that, right? So I guess the connection that we have, it's better.
Yeah.
But you're right, Goviki, that in my parents' generation, they work too much.
Yeah, my parents do.
Yeah, and there's a language barrier.
We're not that far in
Yeah,
age.
yeah.
We're
Yeah.
close to age.
Very close to age. I'm like 30.
Okay, yeah. Understandable. Yeah. So then your own experiences, your personal experience from like that lack of
Affection, support.
Yeah,
Not support,
informed.
love. Yeah.
yeah,
Affection.
understanding.
Affection. I think understanding too. Yeah, you know what? I think about it. I don't think my parents understood why I liked the things I liked. You know what I mean? I think because they weren't interested in the things that I liked. But as a teacher, I love learning about my students. I love learning about their personalities, and I really do love kids. I think they're the funniest human beings. I think they're so sweet.
I know, they're so silly.
And they're very silly.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that rather, if you're working with kids in a teaching setting, if you are raising kids as a parent, that you could like teaching, the act of teaching, as much as you want. You could like the act of parenting as much as you want. But if you don't like kids, I don't think you should be a teacher. And I don't think you should be a parent.
I
Yeah.
agree. I agree.
I mean, they just function a little different.
Yep.
Yeah.
As the, you know, developing humans, they function a little different sometimes. And that can drive people up the wall.
But think of our parents, for example. Like your parents. Did they like kids?
They do.
Okay.
Yeah, my parents do.
I think there's also differences in liking children as well. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I get the sense of how Vietnamese adults, they view children and they will say that they like children, but their behaviors don't match. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I understand what you mean. I feel like, it goes back to the generational, the education that they have, right, and the love that they have from their parents, and it translate. And now as I become a parent, I see that so much clearer from, let's say, my mother or my mother-in-law, right? They always compare. Yeah, when back then my mom used to do, and you guys don't do that anymore, and that's why your kids are like this. But it's completely not true, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because before then we don't have a 2-person, working household. Everyone has to go to work, right?
Yeah.
Before that, there's the homemaker and there's a breadwinner, right? So there's just a generational differences that I think it's up to us to kind of close that gap a little bit and explain, because we're the only people who can.
Yeah.
I don't think hopefully my kids can be able to understand Vietnamese enough to speak to my parents in the future. I hope so. But it's us right now who have a little bit of Vietnamese left, right? And who understand the American culture, that we can hopefully can close that gap a little bit and have our parents understand, hey, we're at a different time, right?
Yeah.
Don't compare us to before, right?
Yeah. And also clearly now that, we do research education, like good teaching practices as well. Like a lot of things they did back then were not good. It was not sound teaching or parenting practices. So yeah, that gap can be a little, I don't know.
Yeah.
It makes me feel some type of way.
It's a wide gap for sure.
It's a wide gap.
Like I work in a dual immersion, Vietnamese dual. People are gonna figure out where I work. I work in a Vietnamese dual immersion, and so basically we teach students what dual immersion is. You learn a 50-50 dual immersion is you learn the language. You learn in the language, and that includes the language. So, for example, learning in the language 50% of the time means you're learning math, you're learning history, you're learning art, half the time in Vietnamese and half the time in English, right? And then it's important, Tree inspired. He gave me a very inspiring speech before my job interview for his job last month. And I realized that, like, after our generation, how are kids going to feel connected to their culture, and how are kids going to feel connected to their grandparents? And the main way to do that is language, because language is such a precious thing that not everybody has, but it's such a historic thing of where it's something that has been brought from another country to the US.
I mean, language is just that instant connection with somebody. It takes care of like half the work already.
Yeah.
Well, wait, what about you, Tree? Where does your teaching philosophy come from?
Definitely, like I mentioned to you, from my upbringing, right? My parents thankfully, my parents were never tough on like, hey, you have to be a doctor, you have to be a lawyer. It's just as long as you're happy. And I translate that to when I have kid. I named my daughter in English translation, "Open Your Caring Heart," because I want her to just be happy from just helping people, right? So that's from teaching. That's teaching from my mom. So it's also it's so to answer your question, it's most likely from passing down the knowledge from what we learn, right? But also one of my philosophy is you have to be open-minded. You have to put away the ego, right?
Yeah.
When I first agreed to help Hope Summer School teaching media, I was like, hey, I know most of this stuff. I'm going to teach you, but then I realized some of the kids have great ideas, right? So you have to put your ego aside, be open-minded to also learn from your kid, because that's where you absorb most information, because kids nowadays have great information. They're very smart, very, very smart compared to when we were their age. So just because we're older doesn't mean we know much, right? They know much. Like I talked to a young gentleman. He was learning coding. I didn't know what coding means when I was 12, So definitely be open-minded. That's how you connect too, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yep.
I also think it's a social economic status thing too, where we went to Title I schools. I'm not sure where you went to, but we went to Title I schools. So then there wasn't that many coding programs. There wasn't that many art programs. We didn't have a separate PE teacher. It was just like the teacher doing the PE and stuff like that. But then you go to higher SES, they have separate teachers. They have a lot. They have a lab teacher, they have a PE teacher, they have an art teacher, they have a STEM teacher, and they have clubs starting at starting from a young age. So I think that has 100% has a factor on,
of course,
why students that are from that SES are more educated, are more likely to be more educated or more well-rounded because of those resources.
Yeah.
So it's also not bridging the gap we were talking about bridging the gap of culture. Now we're talking about bridging the gap of achievement.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, children are an investment in every sense of that word, the financial investment part of it as well, whether it be like being at a school that has the finances to give children all these different resources and opportunities. But probably similar to home as well. If they're in that kind of environment that's like a school that has like high resources, then probably at home is a similar
Yeah.
situation.
Thankfully, like my district just got an art teacher.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's
School?
cool.
District?
District.
The
My
whole
the
district
whole district
has-
got art because we had a few years ago. So first there was music, right? So a few years ago there was a petition to have more music in class. So now we have more music. So that's great. And then now we just got a visual arts teacher, so they'll be teaching our students arts. Yeah, but then again, it's it's 2024, and
Yeah.
we just got this.
Oh, in agreement that children should be exposed to as many different subjects or learning opportunities as possible then? To be more
100%.
well-rounded?
Yeah, 100%.
Did you have any thoughts back in the day, or has it changed, that well-rounded student versus the specialized student?
I think I have a philosophy. Not sure if everyone will agree with me or not, but I believe that emotional intelligence should comes before like IQ, right? So like having children, like stuff that we have now is SEL, right?
Yeah.
Learn about emotion, sharing emotion through art, through music, whatever. I feel like that's important. Well, because everything else, knowledge-wise, I heard from the other teacher, kids nowadays have a 1-on-1 ratio to Chromebook, right?
Yes. Every school.
Every school.
Every school.
Did you know
Title
that,
1 or
Jane?
not. Or iPad, depending on age.
Did you know that, Jane?
I didn't know we're that far yet. But okay.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's amazing to me, because I'm gonna disclose my age again. But before, when I was in school, it's computer lab, like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not even like accessible all the time, with a floppy disk. Right. So that's a lot. Like now kids can just bust out the Chromebook and just do research, and they're a lot better than me, doing stuff. So again, that's a great surprise to. That's a pleasant surprise to see, right? So technology is there, knowledge is there, information is there. Now we need to build them back to the human emotion connection, like with themselves, among their peers, with teachers, with parents. So I think having subjects like SEL is great.
It's important.
It's very important.
Yeah.
Extremely important. Like just chill, relax, get away from the screen for a little bit. Do art, do emotion,
art.
music. I think that's amazing.
We call it chill time in my class.
Chill time, yeah, that's definitely needed.
Where they just talk about their emotions in color. And it's nice. And it just lets them calm themselves down. Now I have a question for you, Anne. So do you think emotional intelligence should be mainly taught at home, or half in school at home, or what do you think?
I think with any subject, it should be touched a little bit in school, so that the kids can be like, hey, my peers are doing that too. So it's just because, like, if I tell my daughter or son, hey, you have to be emotional intelligent, do this, do that, and they're like, you're I don't want to listen to
You're old.
You're old, exactly, right?
I'm sure you touch on it with siblings, because you have siblings,
I have
right?
siblings, yeah.
So you're like, oh, am like, be nice to your little brother, because
Thankfully, my wife is very good with that, right?
Okay.
She would come to me and say, hey, don't do that. Like, don't just say, hey, nhường cho em, or give that to your brother. Then the sister would, hey, that's kind
So you
of,
build resentment.
yeah, resentment, right? But she would ask the sister, hey, your brother, he wants it. What should we do? And then it makes my daughter think a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Okay, he's crying. Maybe maybe I should give it to him, but it's her choice, and not like the parent telling, hey, give it to the brother,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You're teaching two bad things. You're teaching the daughter resentment, and my younger son, like, hey, I can do whatever I want now. Just cry.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work with that.
So she could teach SEL too.
yeah, maybe she could. Yeah.
But that's similar to before, right? When we were talking about, like, you should have, like, all the teachers in your life kind of on the same page. So then, true, yeah, good point that in a formal setting, like, children would be able to learn better or be encouraged to learn something like
Right.
emotional intelligence if they see all their peers learning it as well.
Yeah.
Because, we feel a strong sense of like, or something that compels us to be like other people similar to us. So like in age, perhaps our peers,
Sure.
become significant. But also that I think that in just a formal education, a school setting, that you would have a more formal way of teaching, or maybe more objective and thoroughly like planned out way to teach and deliver the information. That might be, that will give
yeah, I know what you
consistency to the information as well, since like not all families, because then if you only want to teach it at home, then that kind of assumes that all the families should have some level, some similar level of like the subject themselves.
Right.
Yeah, which might be which is a taller ask, I think.
It's a tall ask, but I know in elementary, it's really hard to do it in like high school and middle school because you have like 40 minutes with the kid. And that's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
But in elementary, we have morning meetings, and what I would like to do is just do like emotional check-in, like how are you doing, what's up, and sometimes giving the students the opportunity to talk about their emotions in a safe space is really important. Because a lot of times, like, you really don't know if their parents at home are asking, hey, how you doing?
Yeah. I think that's so important.
Or listening meaningfully.
Or listening meaningfully. Even if they just want to talk about, like, this rocket they have, let them talk about it instead of, like, and show interest in it. It's really important, too.
Yeah.
So just checking in with them on their emotions is how I like to do it. And then I like teaching coping mechanisms too. My favorite thing to teach is how to handle conflict, which is, we'll see how I do
That's
with
great.
Kinder this year.
With younger or a certain age?
It's with younger. I try to do it with my upper graders, and because they've known each other for like, because when you're in dual, that group of kids, when you're in dual immersion classrooms, that group of kids that you start out with TK are going to be in your same class your whole life.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so they build and all the parents know each other. It's great.
Okay.
But then again, it's important to note that what were we talking about? I lost my.
Well, you were talking about certain teaching practices that you do, and that kind of spills into like what I wanted to ask as well, is that the teaching practices that you do, inspired by your teaching philosophy, of course, like what results have come from doing certain things with the students?
Yes, I was talking about conflict management.
Yeah.
So conflict management is what I teach. So like first and foremost, before they talk to me, unless if someone's hurt, talk to the other person. And the sentence frames I like to use: how did what happened? Why did you feel that way? And then I like the trying to have the kids communicate with each other. I felt this way because of this. I felt this way because of this. And then the second question they ask themselves: how could we both get what we want? So if it's over like the swing set, oh, maybe you do 1 minute and I do 1 minute. Oh, if it's over a toy, oh, maybe you play with it and I play with it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How have the results of that been so far?
Upper grade's been great. Upper grade has been great. And then we'll see with Kinder. I mean, I'm crossing my fingers. But yeah.
You'd be surprised. Because then for my daughter, they have cousins all around the neighborhood. So they used to bicker and fight all the time.
Oh, really?
But then when we apply that, especially with my kids, instead of conflict, where I want that toy, we'll be asking, okay, hey, when you're done, can she play with it? So like you put the decision on their hand, right?
For sure.
And then you'll be surprised. They'll be like, okay, here you go. Because now they can make the decision.
Yeah.
Instead of you telling them what to do, which most kids, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So you'll be surprised.
No one wants to be told what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Especially when you're
Even
that
at this
young.
age.
Yeah.
I don't want to be told what to do.
I agree.
I
Letting
agree.
kids make decisions is
Yeah.
really good because it teaches them independence too.
Right.
Because a lot of times I ask my kids, what do you want to do today?
Right.
I don't do that. I lesson plan.
Yeah.
But let's say hypothetically, if I did it with my kids, what do you want to do today?
Yeah.
And then they'll say, some of them would be like, I don't know, because no adult gave them a chance to make decisions.
Yeah.
So that's important too.
Yeah.
Are there certain practices that you've done that you've seen some interesting or good results?
Like I mentioned, that was pretty good result. Giving the kids, how did you get the same result, but giving the kids more of the decision making? For example, when let's say my daughter don't want to go home, she's having fun, right?
Okay.
I will give her two choices. You put on your shoes and walk out with me by yourself, or I carry you out. I'll be happy with two choices, but fine, I'll walk out myself.
Okay.
Or you carry me out. Fine, okay. You make that decision, right? So
Same result, I guess.
Yeah. So that's something that works pretty well consistently. But on another hand, there are things that I've learned from my kids, or in this case, my kids. But have you learned anything from your students that is interesting that you want to share?
From my students,
Yeah.
I've learned that. What have I learned from my? I'm gonna use my students from this year.
Sure.
I have learned that it takes time to get them to connect, but with consistent communication and encouraging love and friendship in the class, each student could be each other's friends. They really can, especially at this young age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I learned because I have a wide variety of personalities. And so at least connecting with them into putting them on the same foundation. For example, we're working on a skit and they all loved working on it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And so I've learned that if I were to give a common goal to all students, then all of them will eventually have friendship.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Awesome.
Is there anything you learned?
Yeah, for me, especially for my youngest dude, be present all the time with him, right? Because I'll be on my phone and he would grab my phone. Daddy, no phone, like basketball, like that.
Yeah.
So oh shoot, that's it's important. So I have to turn my phone off, put it away, because like he reminded me of that, because later on when they're on the screen all the time and you tell them to get off, it's kind of not it won't be right, because you're the model, you on your phone all the time. But the good thing, he reminded me, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that I learned from him, because he actually speak his mind and demanded the attention, because we're glued at our phone all the time, whether we know it or not.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we are.
Yep.
Especially as like the older kids too. Like
Yeah.
I don't use, actually no, I do, but it's because I've been the activities coordinator, so then I've been talking with you and Annie, and I told them like I'm talking to Annie, I'm talking to Jane, I'm talking to Jane, I'm talking to Corey, I'm talking to Tree. But it's important for me to model, especially with older kids, because they're glued to their phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm guilty too, but we try.
We
We
try.
try.
Yeah.
We do.
We do.
But I'm glad you don't have an iPad kid.
You have a
Not yet.
basketball
Not-
kid.
not yet.
Basketball kid. Basketball.
Does he bring it to restaurants?
What?
The basketball.
He brings it everywhere.
Oh.
Playground. When he brushes teeth,
how
he sleep
cute.
with it. He actually sleep with
Oh my
it.
God.
Sleep
Yeah.
with it?
I have to clean the ball every night, because he plays outside.
It's only one?
There's only one he likes, the red and blue basketball.
Oh,
Where'd you
that's
buy
so
it?
cute.
It was a Christmas gift, actually.
Oh my gosh, so
Secret
you can't-
Santa.
you
I don't
can't
know who got it. I'm pretty sure I can find it, but he's just glued to that ball.
Can we pass off one indoor ball and one outdoor ball?
I bought him a plushie ball, like the one that he can, it's actually a
okay.
pillow. He don't like it. He wanted an actual basketball with texture. I don't.
All right, fair enough.
Fair enough.
Do
Yeah.
you guys in the future think that any part of your teaching philosophy or practices will change?
Maybe when I'm a parent, I feel like it will change. I'm not a parent yet, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But once I understand, like, actually how hard it is to have a kid 24/7 instead of 8
true.
hours a day, multiple of them, then I
Yeah.
think it will change.
True.
I think mine would definitely change. The reason I say that is because, like, we all evolve. They grow up, right? And there's different teaching method. There's technology involved now, and from the day that my kids were born till now, it already changed.
Yeah.
Because before we definitely I don't have them like sleep on their own. be independent and like no screen time whatsoever, no sugar after 9. All that went out the window because you kind of have to adapt a little bit.
Yeah.
You don't want to be like all like strict all the time. So we have to I have to compromise, right? So I would definitely see my teaching style or philosophy change throughout time because we're all evolving.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, that's good though. That's good. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like also something that not a lot of people, like not everyone would say that, you know?
Yeah.
So that's tough. But that's good. Good on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But thank you, Jane.
Yeah. I'm starting to dissociate. Okay, it's time to leave. All right. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Spill the Tea. You can find our podcast here on YouTube or on Spotify, though I think most people like YouTube. And you can find Hope Community Services on our socials on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok at Give Us Hope OC. All right. Bye.
Bye.